Well, I think my mom's story is very almost like archetypal of what so many Americans are going through today, kind of realizing that something is not quite right when it comes to our own health, the health of our kids, the health of our parents. People are so sick in our country and they're getting sicker. And we're put on this chronic disease, sort of pill taking surgery treadmill, and yet we're not really getting better. So my mom's story really just is so emblematic of this and played off so much of my own experience in medicine as a surgeon. So my mom, uh, she was very vibrant and, from the outside looked pretty healthy, but in her 40s, she had me. I was an almost 12-pound baby.
Oh my
I was
goodness.
big. Everyone kind of congratulated for that. No one really thought much of it. She had trouble losing the baby weight. She was in her 50s, had a tough menopause. Then in her 60s, she started getting, the diagnoses that so many Americans have. High blood pressure. Here's an ACE inhibitor. High cholesterol. Here's a statin, prescribed 200 million times per year in the US. High blood sugar. Here's metformin. Very common. This is, pre-diabetes. It's a pre-disease. Nothing to worry about. And then all of a sudden she's 72 and she's hiking with my dad near their house in Northern California and she gets a pain in her belly. And that's unusual for her. It lasts her a couple of days. So she goes to her primary care doctor. They order a CT scan and it turns out it's stage 4, widely metastatic pancreatic cancer. And 13 days later, she was dead. And, at the time of her death, she was seeing what a lot of people would call like the best doctors in the world. She was being she was being seen at Stanford. She was being seen at Mayo Clinic, really access to high quality healthcare. And the oncologist looked at my family in the eyes and said, I'm so sorry. This was so unlucky, the pancreatic cancer. And knowing what I know about really more a connected root cause perspective on health, to me, it's very clear that this cancer was not actually unlucky. It was totally predictable. But in our Western medical system that is so reactive, it's so siloed, it's like whack-a-mole medicine. They saw all those things that my mom had throughout the past 30 years as separated, isolated things. The big baby, the trouble losing the baby weight, the tough menopause, all the metabolic issues, blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, and then cancer. In our system, in our reductionist Western medical system, they all look separate and it seems unlucky. But what I'm really, I think, on this planet to share and what my book is about and what all my work is about is that through a different lens, through a root cause lens, through a true physiology lens, what we would understand is that all those symptoms and diseases she had are actually trunks of the exact same tree. And that tree is metabolic dysfunction. It's a core physiologic problem that's affecting 93% of American adults have some aspect of metabolic dysfunction. Some of the most obvious ones you'd think about it would be like diabetes and obesity, but actually cancer, heart disease, stroke, depression, anxiety, having a big baby, which is called fetal macrosomia, trouble losing the belly fat.
And is that caused by, just because I don't know, and a lot of people don't know the through line of the different diagnoses that you're talking about, like going back to you being a 12-pound baby, the only understanding I have of why that typically happens is if a woman has gestational diabetes. Right. So is that part of what you're talking about? And all of these things are somehow connected to each other?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the trunk of this tree, this metabolic dysfunction, it can show up like gestational diabetes. And at its very core, and not to get too science and technical,
That's okay.
but in our society today, with the rapid changes in our diet and our lifestyle over the past just like 50, 75 years, really since World War II, our industrialized diet, our chronic stress from our devices, we're getting 25% less sleep on average than we were 100 years ago. The incredible amount of synthetic toxins in our food, water, air, and homes, it's fundamentally caused a problem with our cells that is super fundamental. It's a breaking of this metabolic machine in our cells, and metabolism is how we convert food to cellular energy. And the reason that this can look like so many different diseases is because if you have a problem converting food energy to cellular energy to power our cells, in different cell types, this can look like all different things. If it's, in a liver cell, it can look like fatty liver disease. In a blood vessel cell, it can look like heart disease. It can look like, in the brain, it can look like depression and anxiety. So essentially, there's this core issue that's caused by our lifestyle and our food system that is really breaking our bodies on a fundamental level, showing up as all these different diseases across the spectrum. And our healthcare system is totally blind to it, which is why they wait until the symptoms emerge and they treat those isolated symptoms, but they never get to the actual root cause because that's not the way our system works. It's about separation, not connection.